Hey, blessings. Welcome to today's Law Enforcement Daily Devotional. Today we're in Joshua chapters 20 through 22. And man, today was an exciting read. I had a lot of fun in today's read. Starting in chapter 20, verses 1 through 9, cities of refuge are mentioned here. And these cities were a big part of Israel's criminal justice system. They didn't have jails and they didn't have prisons. So when they would have somebody that was in need of being contained or arrested, their liberty is confined, they would send them to one of these cities of refuge. And these cities were run by the Levites. And we talked in the past, I think, especially when we were in Deuteronomy a lot, that the Levites were basically the jailers, the prison guards of these cities for these guys that were accused of murder. The ones that would be there would be the ones that were guilty of manslaughter. It wasn't an intentional murder with malice or forethought, maybe an accidental death. And I think one of the examples it gives, maybe in Deuteronomy, is swinging an axe and the axe head comes off and it kills the neighbor. There wasn't any intent at all, but that person had to run and flee to the city of refuge until they could kind of investigate and have his trial, and the elders call him back to set a trial and have him judged and whatnot. But we also read something, and it may have just been different for me. I read here in 2141, and I don't think I've ever noticed this before. I've always thought about the 6 cities of refuge that belonged to the Levites, but the Levites actually had 48 cities in all, and these were dispersed throughout the 12 tribes. So every tribe would have access to a city of Levites, and all the priests came from the tribe of Levi. All priests were Levites, but not all Levites were priests. In these 48 cities, 6 of them were cities of refuge where someone could go to until their trial started and be protected from the avenger of blood. Because if they weren't confined in this city, if they were caught outside that city, the avenger of blood could kill them with no guilt. So it was very important for them and their own health and safety to stay inside these cities. We go down to chapter 22 and verse 5. And this was such a great reminder, and it always is, whether you're in Old Testament or New Testament, whether you're, well, I'll just leave it at that, Old Testament or New Testament. This is such an applicable verse for all of us in all of our lives, that we want to love the Lord our God with our heart, our mind, and our soul. God wants every bit of us. Just like the land of Canaan, he wanted to go in and completely take the whole thing over, to wipe everything out, and the only thing that would be in that land would be a reflection of God and his love. He wants that for our hearts. He wants everything in that heart to be a reflection of his love. He wants us to love him with our heart, mind, and soul. Just an outstanding verse. Again, Joshua 22:5, if you want to write that down. That's a refrigerator verse, as a lot of people call it. And then 22 verse 13, this is towards the end of the conquering, when they kind of give up and just let people live there. They take some as slaves and some just live in Canaan that are not a part of this family, these 12 tribes. But they've conquered as much as they're going to. So the 2.5 tribes that decided to stay outside the boundaries, Reuben, Gad, and half tribe of Manasseh, I believe who they were, they head back. And as they cross the border, they build up this monument to remind the Israelites who are in the land of Canaan that this 2.5 tribes outside, they're still part of the family, okay? Don't forget about us. We helped you conquer what we conquered. But the rest of the Israelites inside of Canaan, who've taken this land it's no longer Canaan, it's Israel, hear about this altar that they've made, and they're filled with the zeal of God, and they think that their brothers have made this altar to a false god or to an idol. So man, they They grabbed Phineas, they put him in the lead, and they said, let's go. We got to fight our own brothers. Now, Phineas, if you remember, he's out of Numbers 25, verses 7 through 15. When we talk about zeal, there's no better to lead a zealous group of soldiers to fight for God than Phineas, because Phinehas stopped the plague when Balaam led the Israelites into the sin of Peor. And we've talked about this over and over again with Balaam. But Phineas was the one who took the spear and ran it through the Midianite woman and the Israelite man, killing both of them and stopping the plague because God was so impressed with his zeal. So these zealous men go up to where this idol is and find out it was a mistaken communication, that it was not a false idol, and they all depart in peace. Just a really cool story. Tomorrow we're going to finish up Joshua. We're going to read chapters 23 and 24, but we're also going to read the first chapter of Judges and kind of get a look into what we're going to be reading as we get into that book. So I look forward to seeing you here tomorrow. Until then, you guys be safe.